Welcome to FM Talks. Let's take a quick second to think about exactly how your morning started today.
Really picture it.
Yeah, really picture it. Because if you're listening to this right now, chances are that when your alarm went off, you didn't exactly leap out of bed feeling perfectly aligned with the universe.
Right.
You probably hit the snooze button maybe twice.
At least twice.
Exactly. And then suddenly you just launched into this chaotic, completely rushed race against the clock.
Hmm.
You're trying to figure out what to wear. Maybe you're wrangling kids, frantically searching for your keys, trying to map out the traffic for your commute.
It's a lot.
It is. And somewhere in that absolute whirlwind, the idea of actually sitting down to eat a nourishing, grounding meal, it completely vanishes. It becomes a total afterthought.
It's the first thing to go.
Always.
Yeah.
So what usually happens, you end up grabbing whatever's closest. Maybe it's a sugary pastry from the coffee shop in the corner, or, and I'm definitely guilty of this, you just decide to skip breakfast entirely.
Just running on empty.
Yep. You tell yourself you're just going to run purely on black coffee and sheer willpower until you inevitably crash around mid-morning. It's this cycle that feels almost impossible to break when you're literally just trying to get out the front door in one piece.
And that's exactly why I was reading this section in our source material today, the comprehensive guide, 5-Minute Easy Breakfasts. And it completely changed how I look at that morning rush.
Oh, I can't wait to get into this.
It really is a profound shift in perspective, because when you stop looking at breakfast as just another chore on a very demanding morning to-do list, everything changes. The author of this guide does a brilliant job of reframing the entire conversation right out of the gate.
Reframing it how?
Well, it's not just about the food itself. It's fundamentally about your physiology.
Yeah.
When you think about it logically, you've just spent the last 7 or 8 hours sleeping.
Right.
Which means you've been fasting. You wake up, and your body's glucose reserves, which those are your primary source of immediate accessible energy, they're almost completely depleted.
Your tank is practically empty.
Exactly. Your tank is empty. So when you choose to skip that morning meal because you feel pressed for time, you're actually setting off this cascading physiological chain reaction. Your body is quite literally forced to run on fumes.
And running on fumes is exactly what it feels like. You get that hollow feeling in your stomach? Sure. But for me, worse than that is the brain fog.
Oh, absolutely, because your brain runs on that glucose. When you deprive it, that leads directly to that sluggish, low-energy feeling. Your concentration starts to dip, your cognitive function slows down, and then comes the inevitable crash.
The 10 a.m. wall.
The 10 a.m. wall. And what happens when your body crashes? It panics. It demands quick energy, which almost always results in overeating later in the day. You find yourself craving simple, sugary carbohydrates because your biology is screaming for a quick fix.
So if I'm understanding this right, skipping breakfast isn't a time saver. It's basically setting myself up to fail before noon.
Precisely. What the guide emphasizes so clearly is that breakfast shouldn't be seen as a reactive response to feeling hungry at 10 a.m. Instead, it's a proactive, strategic tool for managing your daily well-being. By fueling up properly, you're essentially setting the biological rhythm for your entire day.
I love that word, rhythm.
Right, you're telling your body that it's safe, that resources are plentiful, and that it can focus on higher-level tasks rather than just basic, baseline survival.
That sounds beautiful in theory, but how do I actually make that happen on a busy Tuesday morning when I've got a massive presentation at work and the dog needs walking? Because when I think nourishing breakfast, I think 45 minutes at a stove.
And that brings us right into one of the first major mental hurdles the book tackles. It redefines our deeply ingrained definition of fast food. For decades, we've been conditioned to believe in this rigid dichotomy.
That food can either be fast or healthy, but never both.
Exactly. If you want speed, you go to a drive-thru or grab a heavily processed bar wrapped in plastic. If you want health, the assumption is you have to spend all that time chopping vegetables. But the author reclaims the term fast food to mean the efficient preparation of minimally processed, nutrient-dense ingredients.
Okay, so we're talking about simple whole foods.
Yes. Oats, eggs, frozen fruits, greens, putting them together in literally minutes rather than relying on ultra-processed boxed meals. It's entirely liberating because it removes the guilt associated with needing something quick.
You don't have to sacrifice your well-being just because you're in a rush.
Right. And the book provides a really striking direct comparison. Let's look at the classic fast options so many of us default to. A glazed donut.
Oh, the siren song of the glazed donut.
It requires 0 minutes of prep time. You just point at it behind the glass and they hand it to you. But let's look at the physiological cost. That donut delivers roughly 253 calories and a massive 14 grams of sugar,
Wow.
but it only gives you 0.7 grams of fiber.
Which is basically no fiber at all. So what does that actually do inside my body when I eat it while staring at my inbox?
Well, without fiber to slow down digestion, those 14 grams of sugar hit your bloodstream almost instantly. Your pancreas has to scramble to pump out insulin to manage all that glucose.
Which gives you that temporary jittery rush.
Yes, followed very quickly by a steep, exhausting crash as that insulin sweeps all the sugar out of your blood. You're going to be hungry, irritable, and probably a little shaky within an hour.
And that's exactly when I start snapping at my coworkers or losing patience with my emails.
Exactly. Now, contrast that with a homemade oatmeal bowl topped with fresh fruit. Yes, it takes 3 minutes to prepare, but for an investment of 180 seconds, you get about 140 calories, 4 solid grams of fiber, 5 grams of protein, and absolutely zero added sugars.
Plus, you get healthy fats if you throw in some nuts.
Right. The difference in how those two options fuel your body and your brain is astronomical. The oats provide a slow, steady release of energy that keeps you stable.
When you look at the numbers like that, those 3 minutes feel like the best investment you could possibly make. And for me, as a woman juggling a career and a household, it's not just about avoiding a sugar crash. It's about protecting my mental bandwidth.
Decision fatigue is a very real phenomenon.
It is. When 10.30 rolls around and I'm starving, I'm fighting my own biology, and honestly, that's a battle I usually lose. By eating a 5-minute nourishing meal at 7:30, I'm freeing up cognitive energy. I don't have to stress about what to eat later, so I have more focus for my actual job.
It's fascinating how a bowl of oats is actually a tool for mental clarity. And the author shares some incredibly relatable stories that ground this. Take Sarah, a mother of two featured in the book.
Oh, I loved her story.
Her mornings were chaotic, and her default rhythm was grabbing a sugary pastry. Every single day, by 10 a.m., she hit a wall. She described feeling sluggish, unable to focus, snapping at her coworkers.
Which is a purely physiological response to the breakfast she was choosing. It wasn't a character flaw.
No, it was a biological crash. When she swapped that pastry for a simple 5-minute morning smoothie, the transformation was immediate. She actually cured her 10 a.m. slump entirely.
She had sustained energy.
Yes, more focused at work, and crucially, she had more patience for her family in the evenings because she hadn't spent the whole day riding a blood sugar roller coaster.
And then there's Mark, the university student.
Right. He was just skipping breakfast altogether, struggling with poor concentration during morning lectures. He started using a basic microwave oatmeal strategy and reported a drastic improvement in his ability to focus.
These aren't elite athletes with personal chefs. They're everyday people who just adjusted their morning rhythm by 5 minutes. But I know the immediate thought for so many people listening right now is, okay, that sounds great in theory, but you haven't seen my kitchen. It's tiny, I don't have fancy equipment, and honestly, eating healthy is incredibly expensive.
That is a very pervasive myth, the idea that you need a beautiful, sprawling kitchen with a $400 blender to be healthy.
So what's the reality here? Do I need to go out and buy a massive food processor?
Not at all. And that's where this guide is so practical. It introduces what it calls the essential arsenal, and it completely dismantles the idea that you need high-end gadgets. Lowering the barrier to entry is absolutely crucial.
Because if it's complicated, I'm just not going to do it.
Exactly. When people decide to change their habits, the instinct is to buy complicated, single-use equipment that just adds to the overwhelm. All you really need to execute these 5-minute rhythms is a good chef's knife, a basic 3-quart pot, a 10-inch nonstick skillet, a standard blender, a couple of cutting boards, and some basic measuring tools.
That's it.
That is it. If you have those basic items, you're completely set up for success. By keeping the equipment minimal, you remove the intimidation factor.
That is a huge relief, just the basics.
Mm.
But what about the food itself? Because a box of sugary cereal is cheap, fresh organic berries are expensive. How does the book tackle that reality?
It tackles it head-on by focusing on building a speedy start pantry built entirely on strategic, versatile staples. You don't need obscure, expensive superfoods. We're talking about rolled or instant oats, eggs, plain or Greek yogurt, frozen fruits, basic nuts and seeds, and whole grain bread.
Things that can just sit in your pantry or freezer?
Ready to be utilized the moment you need them without a daily expensive trip to the grocery store. The economic analysis in the text is really compelling. Buying plain oats in bulk, for example, is incredibly cheap.
Exponentially cheaper than those individual pre-flavored oatmeal packets loaded with sugar. And the frozen fruit tip is brilliant. I always used to feel so guilty buying fresh spinach or fresh berries, only to find them wilted and moldy in the crisper drawer 5 days later.
It's like throwing money directly into the garbage.
Exactly, it's so frustrating.
The guide heavily promotes the use of frozen produce for exactly that reason. Frozen fruits and vegetables are a massive game changer. They're picked at their absolute peak ripeness and flash frozen immediately,
And they retain more nutrients.
often more than fresh produce that's been sitting on a truck for a week. And more importantly, frozen produce lasts for months, which drastically reduces food waste, and it's almost always significantly cheaper.
And the guide talks about budget-friendly substitutions too, right?
Yes. If you can't afford expensive artisanal cheeses, cottage cheese is a fantastic, protein-rich alternative. Instead of buying fresh herbs that might wilt, rely on dried herbs and spices. It's all about building a resilient, cost-effective foundation.
It's about being resourceful rather than rich. I love that. And speaking of being resourceful, the book points out that the physical layout of your kitchen plays a massive role in how fast you can actually move in the morning.
It goes beyond just what you buy, it's how you actually store it. Practical kitchen organization is a huge part of this 5-minute promise.
They suggest storing daily staples in clear labeled containers, which sounds like a small, purely aesthetic detail, but the cognitive impact is significant.
It really is.
When you're half awake, trying to keep one eye open, not having to rummage through 5 identical cardboard boxes to find the chia seeds saves real, tangible time.
It saves frustration.
Absolutely. They also talk about utilizing vertical space, getting things off the counter so you have a clear workspace ready to go the night before. When your physical environment is organized and intuitive, you transition from scrambling to simply moving through a smooth, established flow.
And that concept of flow is perfectly realized when we look at the first major category of 5-minute meals the book explores, which are smoothies.
Yes, Chapter 3, Smoothie Power.
It frames the smoothie not just as a drink, but as the ultimate dietary hack. If you struggle to get enough fruits, vegetables, and fiber into your daily routine, which is most of us, the smoothie is the most efficient vehicle imaginable.
Dietary diversification in a single glass.
Yeah.
But what I appreciate is that it doesn't give you a rigid list of recipes to memorize. It provides a fundamental formula.
The build-your-own formula.
Yes. Because if a book tells me I have to eat the exact same kale and apple smoothie every single day, I am going to be absolutely sick of it and give up by Thursday.
The formula completely eliminates that boredom. It's beautifully simple. Liquid base plus fruit plus protein plus optional boosters.
As long as you follow that basic architecture, you can swap things in and out based on what you actually have in your fridge. Almond milk one day, oat milk the next. Frozen berries today, banana and peanut butter tomorrow.
That formulaic freedom means you can maintain the habit for months without dietary monotony. And within that formula, the guide highlights some incredible nutritional boosters. One of the most effective strategies they discuss is the concept of masking.
Masking. I use this trick all the time.
It's brilliant. For someone who might not naturally love the taste of a plain spinach salad, putting a massive handful of fresh, mild-flavored greens into a smoothie is a revelation.
The natural sweetness of the frozen fruits completely masks the earthy flavor of the greens.
You're getting a huge dose of essential vitamins and minerals, but it literally just tastes like a sweet fruit shake.
It is the perfect trick for picky eaters, whether that's your kids or, honestly, yourself on a grumpy morning. And then they get into the seeds.
The guide heavily emphasizes seeds like hemp, chia, and flax. These are absolute nutritional powerhouses. When you add a tablespoon of flax or chia seeds, you're adding essential omega-3 fatty acids, which are crucial for brain health.
And dense fiber, which stabilizes blood sugar.
Plus extra plant-based protein, and of course incorporating protein powders or a scoop of plain Greek yogurt ensures that the smoothie doesn't just pass right through your digestive system in an hour.
It provides sustained satiety that carries you safely to lunchtime. It's making the meal work harder for you. And the book provides a couple of specific examples to show how this comes to life, like the green machine.
Which sounds incredibly intense.
It does. It sounds overly healthy, but it's actually deeply accessible. Unsweetened coconut milk as the base, a frozen banana for that creamy texture, a tablespoon of peanut butter for healthy fats, a handful of spinach, and a scoop of protein powder.
Because the fruit is already frozen, there's no chopping, no peeling, no need for ice.
You literally just drop the ingredients into the blender. Prep takes 60 seconds. And they take this efficiency one step further with a concept that I think is absolutely genius for a busy lifestyle. The batch and dash strategy.
The batch and dash strategy really is the pinnacle of morning efficiency. It requires a tiny shift in your weekend rhythm, but the payoff during the work week is massive.
What does that look like?
On a quiet Sunday afternoon, you take maybe 10 minutes to pre-measure your frozen fruit, your handful of greens, and your seeds, and put them together into individual freezer-safe bags.
You create 5 of these bags and put them right back in the freezer.
Exactly. When Thursday morning rolls around and you're stressed, you grab one bag, dump the entire contents directly into the blender, pour in your liquid base, and turn it on.
You've reduced the entire morning preparation to a single thoughtless motion. It completely removes the need for motivation on the days when you have the least amount of it.
It's like giving a gift to your future stressed out self.
I love that. But let's be real. Even with blending, things can go wrong. We've all made a smoothie that's way too watery, or one that's so thick it won't even pour out of the pitcher.
Yes, the text includes a fantastic troubleshooting section just for this, because nothing derails a 5-minute timeline like having to stop and fix a mistake.
Their advice is so practical. First, use frozen fruit instead of ice cubes. Ice just dilutes the flavor as it melts, whereas frozen fruit keeps it thick and flavorful. But what if my blend is completely stuck and the blades are spinning in empty air?
That's a classic issue, usually caused by a lack of liquid or an air pocket. If your blend is too thick, the guide advises adding just tiny splashes of liquid at a time, maybe a tablespoon.
Don't pour in a whole extra cup of milk, or you'll ruin the ratio and make soup.
Right. If it's too thin, toss in half a banana or a tablespoon of chia seeds. Chia seeds naturally absorb liquid and will thicken the texture beautifully.
And perhaps the most important mechanical tip they offer: always load your liquids into the blender first.
Putting the liquid at the bottom ensures the blades can immediately create a vortex. That liquid vortex pulls the solid ingredients down smoothly, preventing that awful, loud grinding sound.
That is one of those tiny mechanical details that make the difference between an effortless morning flow and a frustrating chore that wakes up the whole house. Now, if smoothies are the cold side of the spectrum, the book transitions beautifully into the warm, comforting side by focusing on oats.
And rightfully so. Oats are truly one of the most remarkable, underappreciated ingredients in the pantry. From a purely nutritional standpoint, they're a fiber powerhouse. Just a half cup of dry oats delivers 4 grams of highly effective fiber and 5 grams of plant-based protein.
But the real magic is the beta-glucan, right?
Yes, a specific type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan.
Okay, that sounds like something from a chemistry textbook. What exactly is beta-glucan and why do I care about it at 7 a.m.?
To put it simply, beta-glucan is a fiber that, when it mixes with liquid in your stomach, forms a thick, viscous, gel-like substance. Imagine it literally coating your stomach.
Oh.
This gel does a few incredible things. It physically slows down the absorption of carbohydrates into your bloodstream, which helps meticulously manage your blood sugar levels.
And it binds to cholesterol too, right?
Yes, it binds to cholesterol in your gut and helps remove it from your body. But most noticeably for your daily rhythm, that slow digestion creates a profound and lasting feeling of satiety.
You feel full for hours.
Exactly. This naturally curbs the desire to snack mid-morning and helps you avert that all-or-nothing dietary crash where you get so ravenously hungry you just eat whatever is in sight.
So eating a simple bowl of oats is essentially a preventative measure against making poor decisions at the 10 a.m. vending machine. It protects future you.
It provides a slow, steady, sustained release of energy.
But let's talk about the practical reality of cooking oats.
Yeah.
A lot of people picture standing over a hot stove, constantly stirring a bubbling pot for 15 minutes so it doesn't burn to the bottom.
But the premise of this book is we only have 5 minutes. So they lean heavily into the microwave.
Which brings up a very real trauma: the microwave oatmeal explosion. Anyone who has tried to microwave oats knows that terrifying moment when you look through the glass door and see the oatmeal volcanoing over the sides of the bowl.
Leaving a sticky, cement-like mess all over the turntable.
The smell of burnt microwave oatmeal is awful, and scraping it off the glass is enough to make you never want to eat oats again. How do we avoid that disaster?
The physics of microwaving oats can be tricky. As the starches release into the hot liquid, they create bubbles. Because the liquid is viscous, those bubbles don't pop easily. They stack up rapidly, causing that overflow.
So what's the solution?
It's simple but essential. First, you must use a deep bowl that is significantly larger than you think you need, ideally 3 to 4 times the volume of the dry oats and liquid combined.
You have to give those starchy bubbles room to expand upward.
Second, you cannot just set the microwave for 3 minutes and walk away to brush your teeth. You combine your half cup of rolled oats with 1 cup of liquid and you cook it on high, but you must stop the microwave to stir the oats every 30 to 40 seconds.
Ah, so it's an active microwaving process.
Yes, particularly after the first minute of cooking. Stirring breaks the surface tension of those starchy bubbles, causing them to collapse, and it distributes the heat evenly.
It takes about 2 to 3 minutes total of the start and stop rhythm, and then you just let it stand for a minute to thicken up.
By following that rhythm, you get perfectly fluffy, fully cooked oats every single time, with absolute zero cleanup required for the microwave.
It is such a relief to know there is an actual science to avoiding that mess. And once you have that basic, perfectly cooked bowl of oats, it becomes this amazing blank canvas.
You can create endless flavor profiles without adding significant time.
The author details sweet or savory additions. For the sweet route, you can add frozen berries, walnuts for crunch, a heavy dash of cinnamon, maybe a small drizzle of pure maple syrup. It feels decadent, but remains incredibly nourishing.
But the strong push towards savory oats in this chapter is fascinating.
Yes, this is something a lot of people haven't tried, but it breaks that mental schema that breakfast must be sweet. You use water or chicken broth for the liquid, and once it's cooked, you stir in a handful of fresh spinach, which wilts instantly.
Maybe some leftover sautéed mushrooms from dinner the night before.
A sprinkle of shredded cheese, or even a fried egg on top. It turns breakfast into a deeply satisfying savory meal that feels almost like a quick, comforting risotto.
And adding an egg to those oats provides a perfect bridge to the next major hurdle the book addresses. Chapter 5 focuses entirely on eggs. If oats are the fiber powerhouse, eggs are the ultimate protein anchor for your morning.
The nutritional density of a single egg is staggering, especially considering how affordable they are.
Let's look at the breakdown. 1 large egg gives you roughly 6 to 7 grams of highly bioavailable protein.
Okay, another quick pause for the busy listener. Bioavailable protein. What does that mean in practical terms?
By bioavailable, we simply mean that your body can easily absorb and utilize almost all of the protein present in the egg. Some plant proteins are harder for the body to break down, so you lose a portion in digestion. The protein in an egg is perfectly structured for human absorption.
And it provides healthy fats too.
5 grams of healthy fats, essential for brain function and hormone regulation. They are packed with B vitamins. They are also one of the best dietary sources of choline.
Choline is brain fuel, right?
Absolutely critical for memory, mood regulation, and overall cognitive function. And eggs contain powerful antioxidants like lutein, which is vital for maintaining eye health, especially for those of us staring at screens all day.
Because of this dense combination of protein and fat, eggs act as a metabolic anchor. They stabilize your blood sugar immediately and prevent those energy spikes and crashes.
They really are nature's perfect fast food. But just like with the oats, the challenge is how to prepare them in under 5 minutes without creating a pile of sticky pans to wash before work.
And this is where I have to push back a little, because the book delivered a major claim here that made me highly skeptical. They actively advocate for microwaved scrambled eggs.
Yes, they do.
And I'll be completely honest, the idea of a microwaved egg makes me think of a rubbery, tough, yellow sponge. It sounds awful. How on earth does the book justify this?
I completely understand the skepticism. We all have that prejudice against microwaved eggs because we've all overcooked them. But the text explains the science behind why they usually fail and how to fix it.
So you can make fluffy eggs in the microwave?
You absolutely can if you understand 2 secrets: moisture and monitoring. When you microwave an egg by itself, the intense electromagnetic waves quickly evaporate the natural water content, leaving behind that tough, rubbery sponge.
To counteract this, for every 2 eggs you crack into a microwave-safe mug, you add a splash of milk or water.
About a tablespoon or 2. You whisk it really vigorously with a fork to incorporate air. Then, you cook it in very short, monitored intervals. You microwave on high for exactly 45 seconds, take it out, and stir it well.
Then you put it back in for maybe 20 to 30 seconds more.
Okay.
So it's just like the oatmeal. You can't just walk away.
Exactly. The stirring is vital because microwaves cook unevenly. By stirring halfway through, you pull the cooked edges into the center. And the guide points out a crucial, scientifically grounded tip: carryover cooking.
Carryover cooking.
It's the principle of thermodynamics, where food retains heat and will actually continue to cook even after you take it away from the heat source.
If you leave your eggs in the microwave until they look completely firm and dry to the eye, they'll be overcooked by the time they reach your mouth.
You have to stop microwaving when they're mostly set but still look just a little bit wet or glossy on top. You take them out, Let them sit on the counter for 30 seconds, fluff them with a fork, and they finish cooking perfectly from their own internal heat.
It's a 1-minute technique that yields a genuinely good soft scramble with only one coffee mug to clean. That carryover cooking tip changes everything. It's about trusting the residual heat.
And of course, if you really prefer the stove, the book walks through a classic quick fried egg toast.
You get a skillet hot, add a little oil, crack the egg, and while it fries, your whole grain bread is in the toaster. It's parallel processing. It takes 3 minutes total.
They also share a really neat no-shell shards hack. Instead of cracking the egg on the sharp rim of the bowl, which drives fragments inward, you tap the egg firmly on a completely flat surface.
Like the countertop, it creates a clean, even break, and you can just pry it apart without any tiny shell shards falling into your breakfast.
It's those tiny adjustments to technique that remove the friction from the morning. And once the egg is cooked, the author lists instant flavor elevators.
A sprinkle of fresh herbs, a dash of white sauce, or a spoonful of salsa straight from the fridge takes a basic egg from boring to brilliant in 2 seconds. It's about maximizing flavor while minimizing effort.
Absolutely. But let's move to the next mental hurdle. Because what happens on those mornings when even washing a frying pan or a single coffee mug feels like entirely too much work?
We all have those days. Chapter 6 addresses the most hectic days where you have absolute zero capacity to cook anything. The thought of turning on a stove makes you want to crawl back into bed.
This section represents a really important philosophical shift. It's about redefining our expectations of what constitutes a complete breakfast.
For someone who's rushed, the realization that a healthy, sustaining breakfast doesn't require a heat source at all is an absolute game changer.
It completely eliminates the all-or-nothing pressure. You don't have to choose between cooking a complex meal and eating nothing at all. Taking the heat out of the equation entirely removes a huge psychological barrier.
It is so freeing. The book highlights the beautiful simplicity of things like a simple Greek yogurt parfait. You don't need a recipe for this. It's purely an exercise in assembly.
You take a bowl, spoon in plain or vanilla Greek yogurt for a massive protein hit, throw a handful of granola on top for crunch, and toss in whatever berries you have.
It takes 60 seconds. It tastes sweet and decadent, but it fuels you like a champion. They also talk about the everything bagel avocado toast.
It sounds like an expensive cafe item, but it's just whole grain toast, half a mashed avocado for healthy fats, and a sprinkle of everything bagel seasoning.
The seasoning does all the heavy lifting for flavor. The garlic, the onion, the salt, all without chopping a single clove of garlic yourself.
The efficiency is remarkable, and the guide shares even faster instant gratification hacks. Combining a scoop of cottage cheese with sliced peaches, or spreading almond butter directly onto a banana and adding chia seeds.
These require absolute zero culinary skill. You couldn't mess them up if you tried, but they flawlessly deliver complex carbohydrates, healthy fats, and protein.
But to truly master these no-cook wonders, the author connects these recipes back to the broader concept of proactive preparation. This is where your mindset formally shifts from cooking breakfast to simply assembling it.
Yes, the assembly mindset is brilliant, doing manageable bits of work beforehand so your morning flow is completely frictionless.
If you pre-chop your fruit on a Sunday evening while watching TV and put it in a clear container in the fridge, making a yogurt parfait on a Wednesday morning isn't a chore.
You're just pulling components off an assembly line.
Exactly. And that naturally brings us to the deepest efficiency strategy in the entire text, which is Chapter 7, Meal Prep Magic.
Now, I know the term meal prep can sometimes intimidate people. They picture spending their entire Sunday trapped in the kitchen, exhausted, packing 30 identical plastic containers with dried chicken.
Right. But the book is explicitly advocating for minimal, targeted preparation. Spending just a few minutes prepping specifically for your breakfast isn't just about saving time on the clock. It's the ultimate hack for reclaiming your mental bandwidth.
How does that work psychologically?
The underlying psychology is based on the concept of willpower depletion. Willpower is not a character trait. It is a finite cognitive resource. It acts like a battery.
And for many people, it's remarkably low when you first wake up and are fighting the urge to go back to sleep.
Exactly. When you wake up and the healthy choice is literally already prepared and waiting for you in the fridge, healthy eating becomes your default behavior.
You don't have to choose to be healthy. You just have to open the fridge.
It heavily reduces your reliance on that daily, finite willpower battery. By prepping, you bypass the need for motivation entirely.
Bypassing the need for motivation is honestly the only way I survive the week. The guide walks you through a really manageable weekend power-up schedule. We're talking about maybe 30 minutes on a Sunday afternoon.
You could boil a whole dozen eggs at once. Hard-boiled eggs last up to 7 days in the fridge. You boil water once and you have instant grab-and-go protein for the entire week.
During that same 30 minutes, you could assemble those freezer smoothie packs we talked about earlier, or bake a quick batch of healthy whole grain muffins. Just having those reliable anchors ready completely changes the texture and the stress level of your Monday morning.
It creates a foundational layer of stability. And perhaps the most celebrated zero-effort morning meal the book features is overnight oats.
The ultimate example of letting time do all the hard work for you.
The chemistry of it is elegant and completely hands-off. The night before, you combine rolled oats, your liquid, and perhaps a tablespoon of chia seeds in a jar.
You stir it up, put the lid securely on, and place it in the fridge. That is it.
While you're sleeping, the oats and chia seeds slowly absorb the liquid. They soften perfectly without any heat applied whatsoever. When you wake up, you have a fully prepared, incredibly thick, creamy oat dish waiting for you.
You just grab a spoon and eat it.
Yeah.
And you can make 3 or 4 jars at once on Sunday night because they easily last 3 to 5 days in the refrigerator.
It requires exactly zero morning effort. You don't even have to turn on the microwave.
Overnight oats are basically a cheat code for a healthy morning. I love adding a little maple syrup, vanilla extract, and cinnamon to the jar before I put it in the fridge so the flavor really marinates overnight.
Now, as we move into the final sections of the book, Chapter 8 really focuses on reality. Because no matter how well you prep, things will occasionally go sideways. You will make mistakes.
You'll drop an egg on the floor, or you'll burn your toast.
The book places a huge emphasis on resilience in the kitchen, specifically on learning how to troubleshoot and fix those mistakes quickly.
Instead of throwing a tantrum and giving up,
Developing resilience in the kitchen is essential for long-term habit formation. When someone who is entirely new to healthy eating tries a recipe and it fails, the natural human instinct is to declare, "I can't cook," and go right back to the drive-thru.
the guide aims to interrupt that defeatist cycle. It teaches you that a mistake in the kitchen is just a temporary state of matter that can usually be fixed in 30 seconds.
If your scrambled eggs look dry in the pan, don't throw them away. Immediately take the pan off the heat and vigorously stir in a splash of milk to bring the moisture back.
If your oatmeal bubbles over, you wipe it up, and you quickly learn to grab a larger bowl next time. Learning how to successfully bounce back from a minor kitchen fail builds self-efficacy.
It proves to you that you are capable and adaptable, which is the cornerstone of maintaining any new rhythm in your life. The book also does a beautiful job of showing how to make these setups work specifically for your life.
It highly encourages smart swaps. If you're avoiding dairy, every single recipe can be adapted seamlessly with oat milk or almond milk.
If you want to reduce refined sugar, the guide suggests natural alternatives like agave nectar or mashing up a really ripe banana into your oats.
If you have a gluten sensitivity, you simply ensure your oats are certified gluten-free. The basic architecture remains exactly the same. You're just swapping out the building blocks to fit your specific dietary landscape.
That level of customization is what transitions this from being a rigid plan into a sustainable, lifelong rhythm. And that leads directly to the thematic conclusion of our entire conversation today. The most powerful concept presented in the text is what we can call the spillover effect.
The spillover effect. This is where the magic really happens.
Absolutely. When you successfully implement a small, manageable 5-minute morning habit, you do significantly more than just feed yourself calories. You create a powerful, positive feedback loop in your brain.
You start your day with the definitive victory.
You make a quiet promise to yourself the night before to eat well, and in just 5 minutes the next morning, you keep that promise. That generates a very real sense of newfound confidence and agency.
Furthermore, because you fueled your body optimally with fiber and protein, you have stable, clean energy. You aren't experiencing that desperate 10 a.m. sugar crash that makes you feel out of control.
That powerful combination of psychological confidence and stable physiological energy naturally spills over into the rest of your day.
Because dominating those first 5 minutes sets the entire trajectory for the next 16 hours. Because you feel good physically, you're suddenly much more likely to make a smart choice for lunch instead of panic ordering greasy takeout.
You start applying the exact same efficiency and prep strategies to your family dinners.
The 5-minute breakfast isn't the finish line. It is the catalyst for a total lifestyle transformation. It proves to you that taking care of yourself doesn't require hours of agonizing effort. It just requires a little bit of strategy, a few basic tools, and consistency.
Precisely. The core thesis of this entire guide can really be distilled into one clear, liberating thought. Fast doesn't have to mean junk.
We've been sold a false narrative that convenience requires sacrificing our health.
By utilizing smart pantry staples, employing minimalist techniques like strategic microwaving, and dedicating a tiny fraction of your weekend to proactive preparation, absolutely anyone can conquer the morning rush. You can fuel your body properly and protect your precious cognitive bandwidth all in just 5 minutes.
It's such an empowering, grounded message. It
Ugh.
puts the control right back in your own hands. And as we wrap up this conversation, I want to leave you with something to really mull over as you go about the rest of your day.
Yes, consider this final thought. We have just spent this time exploring how reclaiming and optimizing a mere 5 minutes in the morning can completely rewire your physiological energy and drastically lower your psychological stress levels for the entire day.
It literally changes how you perform at work, how you feel in your body, and how patiently you interact with your loved ones.
So, if a simple 5 minute investment can have that kind of compounding systemic impact in the morning, what other hidden, easily streamlined 5 minute windows exist in your daily routine right now? What other small pockets of time are you currently overlooking that, with a tiny bit of intention and flow, could drastically improve the quality of your life?
That is a brilliant question to carry with you. It really challenges how we view and value our time. If you want to dive deeper into these ideas, the full guide is available on Amazon. You can find the link in our bio. It's a perfect deep dive for a quiet afternoon. Thanks for listening to FM Talks.